In incomplete dominance, we need to remember that neither of the two alleles of a gene are dominant over one another, and therefore we're going to use two different letters, not one letter in its upper and lowercase form. We also need to remember that an intermediate or mixed phenotype is going to result. So in the case of a snapdragon, it has red and white color alleles. Neither allele is dominant. So for red, we're going to use R, and for white, we're going to use W, because neither are dominant over the other. In determining the genotype and the phenotype of the F1 generation, if a red snapdragon plant is crossed with a white snapdragon plant, we get the following. Your phenotype for the P1 is red cross white, and the genotype, we use the R's and W's. Meiosis needs to occur to produce gametes, so the alleles need to segregate, and once the gametes are produced, fertilization occurs, and we can see the resulting F1 generation by using a Punnett square. So we put our gametes into Punnett. Right. Now in this case, the resulting genotype is going to all be the same. So we're going to have 4RW, and when we analyze the results of that, the phenotype, resulting phenotype will be 4 pink offspring. The reason for that is, being an incomplete dominance example, an intermediate is formed, or a mix of the parents is formed. So the parents were red and white, and therefore the resulting offspring are going to be pink. And the second example, we need to determine the genotype and phenotype, this time of the F2 generation, if the F1 generation were to self-pollinate. So the F1 generation genotype were all RW. So using that, the parents then are going to be pink, and the genotypes RW cross RW. In order to produce gametes, meiosis must occur, or as Mendel said, the alleles must segregate in order to produce gametes. Once the gametes are produced, fertilization can occur, and the F2 generation this time can now be seen in the Punnett square, and the result is different from the F1 generation. So the genotype gives us a ratio of 1 to 2 to 1. And therefore, analyzing the results, we've got 1 red to 2 pink to 1 white. Typical ratio in an incomplete dominance example in the F2 generation. Right. Last part says, if the F2 generation give rise to 36 plants, how many would be pink? So going back to the second last example, we saw that 2 out of the 4 plants would be pink. So 2 out of the 4, or half, or 50% of the 36 plants will be pink. So 50% of 36 is 18 plants will be pink.